This episode of Coffee with Kenobi is sponsored by Penguin Random House Audio. Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio, featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies. Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From brand new audiobooks such as Thrawn and Empire's End Aftermath to our blockbuster movie tie-in editions, you'll have plenty to keep you entertained. Visit penguinrandomhouseaudio.com/Star Wars for sample clips and to start listening now.
This episode of Coffee with Kenobi is also sponsored by the Star Wars digital card trader collecting app from Topps. Celebrating its second year, the app is free to download from iTunes or Google Play. Collect and trade everything from legendary 1977 Star Wars cards to new cards featuring exclusive content from Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, Rogue One, and much more. All from the comfort of your mobile device. The Star Wars digital card trader collecting app from Topps. These are the cards you're looking for.
Experience Star Wars the only way it's been possible on the TV screen. But if you've only seen it this way, you haven't seen it at all.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
Waiting for you.
Force is strong here, even stronger than the coffee.
At last, where have you been?
Welcome to Coffee with Kenobi. Here are your hosts, Dan Z and Cory Clark.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. Welcome to the Celebration Orlando podcast stage. This is Coffee with Kenobi. Thank you again so much for being here. We appreciate it very much. I'm Dan Z, and with me is my good friend and co-host on his last show, Mr. Cory Clark.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you.
And of course, the Star Wars podcast that analyzes the favorite saga in a whole new way. We're happy to be here with so many members of the CWK family. And Cory, we're back in business, brother.
Yeah. So here we are again, Celebration Orlando, round two.
Round two.
This is interesting, I think, because we talked about even like flying in and arriving was different, I think, for this year than Anaheim.
Your arms are a little tired from the flight. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that. There's going to be a lot of that.
A lot of dad jokes.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, I think, because we talked about even coming up to this point in our event that everything's been a little bit different, a little bit bigger, grander scale, I think.
Yeah.
But I think for personal reasons, too, I think it's different.
It is. How many people here were at Celebration Anaheim? Yes. How many of you were at the Coffee with Kenobi Anaheim podcast stage? Yeah. Ooh, check under your car. I spoiled it.
Don't.
No, you don't get a car. Sorry. All right, so it's really exciting. Before we go on, there's a lot of people in our Coffee with Kenobi family podcast network. It's really an amazing thing when you work with people that become your family, and there are a number of you here right now. So if you are a podcaster or a blogger for Coffee with Kenobi, could you please stand real quick so we can tell you how awesome you are? Ryder and Matt and Coffee with Kenobi. Absolutely. Good to see everyone here. Nick Deco, our video game expert, is here. Thank you. Dennis Keefley, of course, Blogger Supreme. Who else is here? Linda Wolf, our featured blogger. I've not seen you in what? 15 years? A few years. You haven't aged a day.
In face-to-face, but we've been in contact.
That's right. And there's Becca Benton, of course, everybody knows Becca. And Ryder is here as well. Mediocre Jedi who's anything but mediocre. He's all Jedi. All right, very good. So the first thing we want to do is we want to bring up the 40th anniversary panel because I think it's fair to say, first of all, who in here stayed all night? Oh man, I understand why you're sitting down.
You're still alive?
How? Come on up here. We'd love to pick your brain about this. Come on down if you would, sir.
He didn't know he was going to be on the podcast.
That's right.
Now he's like,
That's right.
Staying overnight.
Scott, would you mind handing this? This is Scott Murray from Assembly of Geeks. He's a big star. So what's your name, good sir?
Eddie.
Eddie, how was it?
Long?
You can't script this kind of stuff.
For some reason, about 1 a.m. is when they decided to bring the DJ out.
Oh, really?
Yes, they brought a DJ out at 1 a.m. just as everyone was starting to fall asleep.
What time did you get here?
About 6:30 or no, 7:30.
Wow.
7:20, 7:30.
And so was it worth it?
I think so, yeah.
When you got to see John Williams, Harrison Ford, and George Lucas in the same room. Let's give it up for that kind of dedication. So yeah, overall impressions.
Yeah, overall impressions. The other thing too is you and I got here early as well today. This morning, 4:30, we woke up, kind of walked over here, and just kind of made the distinction to not necessarily some overnight. So I think we debated that previously on the show. I saw a lot of folks in line, we're wrapped around the building, which was fun. It was dark, sun wasn't up yet. But it's the other thing too is getting in. We actually thought about exiting the line because it was so long. I think that's the other thing too that makes it different too. Is the venue is so large in itself to get in to see things.
Right.
But then again, it's like there's a story to tell too. I think that's what part of the celebration is telling the story as far as making memories with folks around you and people in line and folks you haven't seen in a long time. So
Last night we had, of course, we had our Road to Celebration. We were putting on a weekly show, just getting up to Celebration. And we were talking about, I've been trying to twist his arm for a long time about, I think we need to stay over because I think it's going to be amazing. I think it's going to be an amazing experience. Did all of you get to see at least the stream of it? Yes? No? Yes? Who did get to see the stream of it?
Did you say didn't?
Did get to see it. So, okay. So I assume you've heard and seen there's a lot of lovely tributes. Our website has some stuff on there as well. We were debating it, and then at the last second, we said, you know what, let's just go to Disney Springs and have some dinner, like a really late dinner.
yeah.
So we did that, and we waited for our Uber for an hour and a half to pick us up, which was nice and convenient. Said no one ever. And then, so then we went to bed about almost 1 o'clock, so much for actually getting some sleep. But it ended up being great because this morning when we came, there were so many people we got to talk to and interact with. And there's just so much energy at something like this. And of course, every minute, a metal pole falls over and everyone starts to clap, right? It's almost the news, I think, that's playing. Do you?
I think they tell you on the way in.
So now that you know this, what are you going to do tomorrow morning?
Yeah, I think it's the big question. Like, a lot of people were, I think, soured by the experience, just put it lightly. But yeah, it's going to be incredible, I think, for folks wanting to get in and see the Last Jedi panel.
Right.
It's going to be pretty huge, I think. A lot of, I think, we're talking about the panel today was pretty large. I think a lot of surprises that I didn't expect. A lot of big names, and of course, the John Williams scoring.
That was beautiful.
Was something I've never seen before. So that right there is definitely huge on my list.
That had. What was the biggest surprise? Would you say was it Harrison? I think George could maybe be somewhat expected. Obviously, we would hope to see George Lucas, since if not for him, we wouldn't be here. But Harrison, that's quite a coup.
Well, like I said, it's his first celebration, and for him to be here and support Star Wars, and support the franchise, and support fans, I think is really cool. It's nice to see that. And I saw somebody had said he was on the Star Wars booth there too, and up there. But just to him to go and do these things, it's pretty large for him. I think it's pretty cool.
We were over by the live stream, and there was just incredible flood of people. I don't know if any of you were there, but there was this insane flood of people running, and they were holding their camera up, taking pictures. Who knew anyone would be that excited to see Cory at lunch? I didn't know. Turns out it was Harrison Ford. So, I mean, he's really making the rounds, and I think that's wonderful because, I mean, let's be honest, we wanted him in the flow for a while, and there's, of course, a pretty substantial rumor that they backed up the money truck for him. And I'm glad that they did, because I think Harrison Ford is someone that we need in the family, because he's an amazing part, whether it be Indiana Jones, Star Wars, what have you.
Yeah, so for you, Dan, I think sitting there, lights dim down, we see Lucas come on, they're starting to announcing people, and Mark Davis did a wonderful job. For you sitting there, I think you didn't stop staring at the screen or blink once, so
It's true.
what was it like for you?
Well, just even though I sort of had a feeling or hope that Harrison would be there, when he walked out, I definitely had that goosebumpy moment that we get sometimes as fans, because it just hits you like, oh my God, he's here.
Well, I think you forget all the time you waited in line too. So.
Yeah, I do. I think that makes me. Now, okay. Did everyone notice? By the way, we're circling back. Did everyone notice that he hasn't answered about tomorrow morning yet? He hasn't really answered. So what are you gonna do? Again, he loves being put on the spot. You can put me on the spot.
What are you gonna do?
I think I'm going to do it.
You can say that.
I mean, why not?
Yeah, why
right?
not? And if you're here, let's go full hog and
I
do it
mean,
because-
presumably we'll see something tomorrow from The Last Jedi. I think that's fair to say. Yeah, I think so. I think that would be hopeful. And I would like to be a part of that energy where you just kind of get there. And
But like you said too, you get in the room, you're around people, and you're excited. You sit next to people you know, and you're like, wow, this is really worth it.
It is.
So I think the long shot of waiting in line and thinking you're never going to see something, but then it turns out to be a good thing, and you don't get the DJ like anything else, but
Right.
that's okay.
All right, there's another person here that we want to have come up real quickly. Mr. Aaron Harris, who is the recent recipient of the Best Television Review Show, thanks to Star Wars Podcast Awards. Come on down, Aaron. Look at this.
Hello.
There he is, the host of Rebels Reactions. How did it feel when you found out that you won?
It was shocking, honestly. I was very surprised. I was actually teaching a class at work, a training class, when my phone exploded on my desk. So I was a little taken back there, but it's very humbling. I mean, I appreciate everybody who listened in, everybody who voted. I mean, it was definitely a humbling experience for sure.
Right. Well, good. I mean, you do a great job. It's hard. We just said, you know what? I think we need to kind of diversify a little bit and do something different with Rebels Reactions, and you were the first person that popped up, and it's been great. So thanks again for all you do, all the hard work you put into the show. We appreciate you, sir.
No, thank you. I enjoy doing it week in and week out throughout the season. So it's definitely a highlight of a week.
Good deal. Aaron Harris, everybody. All right, so we're obviously no spoiler. We love to analyze, which we're going to do very soon. But we also like to talk a little bit about collectibles. And if you can talk about collectibles and have your friends be a part of the show, that's what we do. So Jeff McGee, it's kind of our tradition to talk about the celebration exclusive. So Jeff McGee of Coffee with Kenobi, come on down, sir. And again, your lovely and talented co-host, Mr. Matt Moore, is right over there.
Hi, Matt.
The host with the most.
We met for the first time in person yesterday.
That's right.
I've been podcasting for 2 years and never laid eyes on him.
You know why? And?
He told me I looked better in the computer. Yeah, he told me I looked better online.
So you, there's one thing we know for sure. You're an avid collector. What have you seen so far on the show floor? What's still available? What are the lines like?
The lines are awful, which I'm sure everybody knows. As far as what's still available, the one thing that I really wanted, I'm not going to get my hands on, and that was the Celebration exclusive Black Series X-Wing Luke. It's already gone. A friend of mine was able to get one. I've seen it in person. I touched it. It's very nice. So if you did get one, you have my eternal jealousy. The store, there's not as much stuff in the store this year. I don't know if you guys have realized that, but last year we had a freaking Salacious Crumb cuckoo clock last year. This year the closest thing we had were the Ponda Baba oven mitts, which I bought 2 of, which was good because a couple of weeks ago I set one of my oven mitts on fire.
Oh, good. So let me ask you this.
And I wasn't even cooking. That's the weird thing.
Is the frickin' Salacious Crumb clock different than the regular Salacious Crumb clock?
It's the exact same clock, but if you get the frickin' one of his ears is bent.
Oh,
yeah.
It's a variant, I guess you could say. What about Funko?
Funko, did anybody here get in the lottery for Funko? So you guys got in the lottery. Yeah, you are literally the only people I know who did. Everybody else I know got denied. So the Thrawn is the one, and I think you and I talked about that. The Thrawn is the one that I kind of want to get my hot little hands on.
People from the Lucasfilm Story Group didn't get selected for the Funko lottery. That just proves that it is random.
It is truly random.
Really?
It's just truly random.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some cool stuff. I know, Scott, did you pick up some Funko stuff already? No Funko stuff yet. Scott's the big Funko guy. But yeah, the Thrawn and the Ghost Qui-Gon.
Yes.
The holographic Qui-Gon is really cool. And those are the 2 that I really want to get my hands on if I can. So I'm hoping after they close it down for the lottery, there's still a few left over.
And the Lego, anyone get the Lego, the hands on the Lego? Is it awesome?
Who do you know? Both of them, really?
Do you have it with you right now?
No, I haven't been able to go yet. Friday and Saturday are my days.
If you can't make it, let me know. I'll be happy to stand in for you.
You need something?
That's cool. Well, that's great. I think it's nice. I mean, obviously, Celebration exclusives are going to be a little more expensive. but they're typically worth it. How does everyone feel about the fact that now we have these shared exclusives? Oh, you know that amazing thing you got at Celebration? Well, it's at 10 other places too. How do we feel about that? Is that a good thing?
For me, it's a good thing because I don't care where I get it as long as I get it. But we talked about this last night as well. As long as the one you get here has some sort of sticker or something on it that says Celebration Exclusive, I'm okay with that. I actually prefer it that way because I never understood not obsolescence, but planned scarcity. I never understood it. I never understood it because if you're producing something, why don't you want to get it into as many hands as you can? Because you're going to sell more. So I have no problem with the shared exclusives as long as, again, the one you get here says Celebration.
Right. No, I think that's valid. I think most people probably agree with that. It's nice to have it.
Yeah.
And we don't want, it's not a my precious situation. We want everybody to have a chance to afford these cool things and get to see them.
Right.
Anything else stand out?
There is one thing that stands out, and anybody who gets in the Celebration store, the one item you should not leave without is the commemorative Celebration magazine booklet, whatever, with a nice embossed cover. $20, well worth it, simply because there's an article in there by one of the people on this stage. So buy it, find Dan, get him to autograph it for you. It'll automatically triple in value.
There you go. Thank you, Joe. Thanks for putting my autograph. Costs the same as water, by the way. It's free. So. All right, very good. Matt, would you like to come on down real quick and kind of share with us what's going on in the world of Star Wars comics? I know there's a bit of a crossover situation going on, isn't there?
There is. I'm old, so I can't jump up on stage.
No worries. Did everyone get a button, by the way? We have lattes with Leia buttons, we have comics with Kenobi buttons.
Lattes with Leia. We have a few Coffee With Kenobi left. See me after the show.
Props to Randy and Luke from Legends Library and Amy and Drea from Lattes with Leia, of course, too, for sure. Amazing.
Comics with Kenobi cards to give out.
Oh, yes.
Yes, a lot of them. Please take some. We've got the upcoming Screaming Citadel, which is going to be sort of a crossover, much like Vader Down was. And they brought out some more of the interior pages that were released today, and you can see those on the Comics with Kenobi Twitter feed. And they released some of the variant covers, which are just really, really, really pretty, including one by Chris Samney. Unfortunately, it's marked not final art, but I'm really hoping that this ends up being the final art. So, I think that's coming out in June. And then, of course, there's been no official word if there's going to be any announcements for new series or new miniseries. Reading the tea leaves, I'd say the chances are pretty good, but I mean, if they don't announce it, I'm not giving you your money back. So.
Very good, and you've got some really cool things to hand out to people as well, besides the buttons. Jeff started talking about that?
Yeah, we've got the buttons, of course. We've got business cards with all the address that you can reach us, and then we've also got decals to give out starting tomorrow. And these are the nice solid vinyl decals, so you can slap them on your car, slap them on your laptop, slap them on your enemy.
Your dog.
With a dog. So keep an eye out for those. If you see me walking around, just say, hey, can I have one of those? Because I will be happy to give you one. So,
Matt Moore, ladies and gentlemen. So Nick, I didn't give you a chance, and we also have Mr. Jason Brame of the Can Explained, another awesome contributor to Coffee with Kenobi. Thank you, Jason, for being here. Either of you guys want to come to the stage and say anything?
sure.
All right. Jason, you? Who in here likes to be put on the spot and randomly called up in front of a lot of people? I do.
I love it. It's one of my favorite things in the world.
Good.
So yeah, if you don't know already, the Battlefront 2 trailer comes out on Saturday. Here they had a teaser, 30-second leaked teaser a few days ago. Unofficial, and then it was official after that. That's how they do things. That's the biggest game that we're waiting for the Star Wars franchise, really, is to see how this goes after if you play, anybody here play Battlefront? Yes, my peoples, all right.
This guy down here.
That guy, he's like, yes, all day. I've probably seen you online.
Do your homework first.
Listen to him, he's a teacher. Mixed reviews at best for Battlefront 1, I guess we call that now. So Battlefront 2 has very lofty goals to reach. So I think a lot of us looking forward to seeing that come Saturday. I think 2:30 p.m. at one of the stages. I forget which one it is right now, but make sure you're there if you want to see what they have in store for us. And if you also play other games, I've said on the podcast before, EA is here with Galaxy of Heroes and some of their other games that they have right now. I do believe they are giving a special ally code giveaway for those that are playing the Galaxy of Heroes game. If you go up to them and just talk to them for a little bit and tell them how much you love it or need improvements, like where's my R2-D2 for that game after a year and a half.
Very good.
But it's been great. It's been great to be here. My first celebration. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
It's great work, gentlemen.
Hey, thank you for being a part of it. Nick Tico. While Jason's coming down, we have to acknowledge Mr. Mike Pilot, all-around awesome guy. And make sure you catch Full of Six tomorrow. I eat 1 o'clock. 1:30, 2:30 right here. That's right. Thanks for being there again, my friend.
This microphone's awfully fancy.
Thank you.
It's got your thing on it too. It's nice. Jason, do the Star Wars Canon Explained YouTube channel, as well as do some segments on their show and write for them as well. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming in terms of Star Wars literature that we've seen recently and storytelling. I think the plug they did yesterday with the Forces of Destiny, or the YouTube series coming out, is going to be awesome addition to the canon. I think there's a mysterious book downstairs at the B&N booth, or the Del Rey booth, that's got coming 2017. So I'm sure we'll find out more about that coming soon. And I'm super excited about the 40th anniversary one that they just announced last week. So super exciting. Lots of cool Star Wars canon stuff coming. So more from that.
All right. Well, thank you, Jason. Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio. Featuring sound effects, top-notch narrators, and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience.
From Han Solo to C-3PO to Admiral Akbar, you'll recognize all your favorite characters. Listen to movie tie-ins like Rogue One and The Force Awakens, to book titles such as Thrawn and Empire's End Aftermath, to classic audiobooks like William Shakespeare's Star Wars.
With Star Wars audiobooks, you'll have plenty of Star Wars listening to keep you entertained. Visit penguinrandomhouseaudio.com/Star Wars for sample clips and to start listening now. And be sure to go to booth 2526 where Penguin Random House Audio is going to be. Mark Thompson is going to be making
awesome.
some appearances. He's amazing. There's going to be a lot of people to chat with and incredible things, giveaways, and all kinds of good stuff. And you just might see Cory and I there as well.
That's right. The other thing, too, is we're kind of promoting this, too, because we love audiobooks as well, Dan. It's one way to ingest the books. I think, personally, for me, it's nice on a drive. If folks looking to catch up along the way, definitely grab one for your trip out to Celebration.
Coffee with Kenobi is also sponsored by the Star Wars digital card trader collecting app from Topps. And Cory, this app has seriously been exploding.
Absolutely, Dan, and it's only been in the last few days. They came out with a new set called the Retro Print Set, and again, these are just like old-styled designs from Topps cards that you can collect. They're unique enough. I got the first one, and I texted you, said, check this out, this is awesome. It's got Luke and Vader fighting on, kind of looks almost like a comic scene, and I don't really know exactly where it's from, but definitely it's unique and a lot of fun. And again, there's so much here in this app to do. You can get on and you can get your favorite characters. You can collect cards from anywhere from Clone Wars to Rebels to Rogue One to Force Awakens, and in between, everything there. So there's so much for fans to get on and check out. There's daily credits. The whole app itself is free for fans. And again, if you're looking for something to kind of pass the time, if you're waiting in line, or you want to have something to do, again, this is a unique way to be able to collect these cards, open packs, get new cards, and trade with friends.
So there are so many different sets to choose from. Everything that you love and I love about collecting in a galaxy far, far away.
The Star Wars Digital Card Trader collecting app from Topps. These are the cards you're looking for.
Luke, you're going to find that many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view.
I must be allowed to speak.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
We've got so much more celebration to go to. This is just the first day.
That's exactly. Wait, should we talk? Let's talk about our discussion. All right, so we debated about what our discussion would be for our last show with Cory as our official co-host, and we wanted to talk about mythology, and it worked out beautifully because of what Harrison and George said today at the 40th anniversary panel. I was really moved by a lot of their inspiration for what stories are and what stories mean to us. And I also think there's quite a bit that goes into that because as the story grows and evolves, so do we as a fan, as a collective, as a community. And I think the parallels there are not accidental. So what is it for you about mythology and Star Wars that you think is so crucial?
Yeah, I think it's not just telling a story. Even like Harrison Ford put it right in the nose there. I think it's just getting great characters involved. And, you just read a good book or hear a good story, and the characters really drive the story and mythology. And you look back to all the old fairy tales and all the old types of folklore that are out there that are building off of characters that are driven into story. And how those are so beholden, I think, to us as fans. And it races right through Star Wars as a whole, and we see it all over the place. And it's not getting just right. I think, sort of like Harrison kind of put it, said, to tell a good story, not about getting the right actors, it's about getting the right, trying to think of, the right
story.
The right story. Well, the right story, but also the right people that go together. I mean, even with writing a story, it's about putting good characters together that fit together, that work together and balance off each other.
Right.
And like I said, we can see that through the heroes and the villains of Star Wars, and how the choices they make.
Absolutely. Mythology is such a wonderful thing because, you go back, of course, to when I introduced the Odyssey, one of the oldest stories ever, right? Way before you could write anything down. People passed on the oral tradition of storytelling. And the reason it was important was because you want to pass on your cultures, you want to pass on your values, you want to pass on your beliefs, what is important to you. And what I tell my students is, if you don't think that's important, to pass on your culture and your beliefs and your values and what's important to you, I want you to take time out from my lecture. I want you to get on your phone and delete every social media account you have and never, ever, ever look at them again. Because that's what we do right now. And that's why this stuff is so important to us. And if you look at sort of what is important, and Lucas hit, of course, on all these points, somebody should hire that guy to do something. It's pretty good. I just think there's a lot. What is it about Star Wars that you think speaks to us as a culture and kind of shows our best?
Again, like I remember George saying, he's looking for, that young person that's looking to change their destiny. And they come from humble roots of something that looking to break out of. He's obviously talking about his own characters, and even going into, even his story about his dog wanting to be the co-pilot. Even that's an evolving story of what that is, a man's best friend, how it can be involved into the main character's setting, and how that main character can evolve their storyline through that. For the Crouch Shrine characters.
Sure. Well, I like what you mentioned earlier and just now about how characters evolve and they change and they grow. Why is that important? And this is for anybody. I want you to feel like you can come up here and share why you think mythology and storytelling is important. Does anyone want to come on down and share your insights with us? Please don't rush the stage. Go ahead and tell us your name and address the question if you would.
Oh, sure. So my name is Ash, and this is my first convention. And what was the question?
The question is, what is it about Star Wars and the mythology of Star Wars that you think represents the best of us as a culture, as a people?
Oh, sure. I think Star Wars is something that's universal. I've met people here from all over the world, right? It's been translated and everything like that. And you see that, Joseph Campbell's a huge influence. This is one of the reasons I got interested in Star Wars, right? So he was, for those of you who don't know, he was a friend of George Lucas's. He was a professor of mythology. And so there are some serious mythological elements throughout all of Star Wars, but especially New Hope, right? And so, he actually wrote this book called A Hero with 1,000 Faces, which is like this prototypical story of a hero. He starts with these humble origins. He meets a mentor figure. He goes through all of it, right? And so, there's a deeper truth sometimes in fiction, right? There are, I think all of us would agree that Star Wars has truth in it, even though it's a complete work of fiction, right? And so, just the idea of the inspiration that people get, right? I know if we ever made contact with an alien civilization, I'd probably want them to see Star Wars, right? And maybe E.T. first, and just the community, right? Like the fact that people are here, that Star Wars, people are bringing their kids. Actually, a little anecdote for me: I've seen Return of the Jedi about 20 times, and it's because I had a VHS tape of it when I was a kid, and my parents were very strict. They wouldn't allow you to watch things with like negative messages or excessive violence or anything like that. But Star Wars was fine. So every day I watched Return of the Jedi if I was good and I did my homework. So so there's a positive message in that.
Absolutely. Hey, well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, you brought up a good point, Dan, too, talking about characters. Characters who relate to other characters, and kind of that family tree method of storytelling, and how that diverges, I think, as generations go on. And I think that comes to even this time period now, the modern time period, where we read books, and it changes, I think, directions as far as the story we read, the people who we are, and people can relate to the stories. I think that's one of the biggest draws. And Star Wars has kind of always done that, and just continues to do that. So,
well, that brings up a good question. The relatability factor is important because we need to have, as an audience, we need a voice. We need a voice in the film to tie into it, or the story, whatever that may be. Do you think that Star Wars, obviously we love these characters, and we wouldn't be sitting here now, but who do you think is relatable? And the thing about Harry Potter, I think why he was famous, I think is kind of the reason why Luke is someone that we gravitate towards as well. If only there was someone here who really liked Luke Skywalker. If only there was. Oh, hi, Melinda. Did you want to say anything about Luke? Why is Luke important?
Why is Luke important?
Yes.
Well, he drives the entire story. He is the chosen one. Definitively.
Controversy.
Yeah.
That's why I have a microphone.
But no, he does drive the story, and he, I think, more than Anakin or any other character, goes through the biggest change from this young man who has dreams but truly doesn't know how to fulfill them, and doesn't realize that, for a lack of a better way to put it, he does have some special powers. He just thinks he's fast, he's lucky, whatever, but he does have some special powers, and he has this wise teacher who goes on to open up this whole new world to him. And Luke is more than just being a Jedi and having his special powers. It's how he uses them for the good of mankind and to change everything and bring his father back to the light side of the Force. So.
True. So are you on record saying that Luke is the chosen one, not Anakin?
Yes, I am.
All right, I'm really glad. All right, let's have a little show of hands. Who thinks, and I'm assuming you're basing this on twin sons, perhaps? Maybe not. But who thinks that Luke Skywalker is the chosen one? Okay. Who thinks that... yeah, that's right. You probably should. Who thinks that Anakin Skywalker is the chosen one? Who thinks Cory is the chosen one? Oh, wow. What's a type of combo? Interesting. So Melinda obviously has some insights on this. Who here who thinks Luke is the chosen one could convince me? Because I'm definitely open to your interpretation. Come on down.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
My name is Swara. I'm,
yes.
How's it going, Dan? So great to meet you in person finally.
This all happens, right?
And you, Cory, as well. I'm a podcaster. I co-hosted Feltweight Banthas, part of the Retro Zap podcast network. Hopefully you guys can check out our network of shows.
Hey, this is good. You should listen to all of these shows.
So the question of Luke being the chosen one, I will say, I think Luke is my chosen one. He's always been my hero. I think that he's always conveyed the most relatability, the most depth, and the most incredible journey that we see throughout the films as the main character so far. I think Rey could potentially match up to that. She and Luke are my favorite characters thus far. My top two, my top number one's tied. But as for Luke being the chosen one, I feel it's as though Anakin did fail, essentially, perhaps, in his mission, but Luke was still... Sorry? Please let me finish.
I'll take care of this.
I feel like, Anakin Anakin made his choice. He decided to kill all of the Jedi. He turned to the dark side. He put the galaxy under his and the Emperor's boot for almost 20 years, and he inflicted was part of inflicting considerable suffering on the galaxy. But I think you can make a case that Luke and Leia, through their efforts at trying to preserve peace and justice in the galaxy, and especially Luke being the catalyst for Anakin's redemption, I feel as though they may not necessarily be the main chosen one, but the Force had a different plan for them in mind. And if we didn't have Luke, if we didn't have the genuine compassion, unadulterated that Luke had for his father, then Anakin or Darth Vader would not have turned back to the light side. So, and on the question of the chosen one more generally, I'm going to say something really controversial here. I actually don't think it necessarily matters that much. I feel as though there's so much else that's going on in the universe of Star Wars, especially after we've had this conflict resolved, who the chosen one is or when balance was brought to the Force. But as we know in The Force Awakens and this new sequel trilogy, balance hasn't been achieved. The galaxy is wildly unstable. And I feel as though this question of who the chosen one is may in fact, we'll have to see how episode 8 goes on, but for me, right now it seems irrelevant. If that, I hope I haven't.
Did you hear the reactions of it? I haven't even heard a squeal.
Oh wow! So no one's awesome. I'm not going to get the pitch.
Thank you for it. Thank you for your insights.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dan.
All right. Now we are going to have a chance for anyone here to thank Cory for his time here on Coffee with Kenobi. But I know someone here who's very much a big Darth Vader fan who may have another opinion about if Anakin is the chosen one. Who could we ask? We'll definitely have you come, but before you, let's have our podcast brother Mike Pilot come on down. It's tradition, Mike. It's tradition.
Well, first of all, I want to say...
No, use the mic.
Cory.
Oh, thanks.
I'm really proud of you. And best of luck in all your future stuff.
Thank you.
I don't think that what Suarez said was controversial. Sitting there listening to him, it might be irrelevant who the chosen one is. But I disagree with Luke had, would you say, a bigger journey, a better journey?
This is just
Figured, yeah. Because if you put Clone Wars and Rebels and everything else and the prequels and everything, I think Anakin had much more of a journey, going to Mortis and doing all those things. I always felt that Anakin was the chosen one. He came from the Force. He was very powerful. I think he let up on Luke a lot of times. He took it easy on Luke. And it's nice to see Luke pull him back to the light side. I think that's wonderful. My favorite story in all of Star Wars is that redemption of Darth Vader. So that's just amazing to me, and it could get me teared up if I think about it too much. But and I know you said controversial. This actually upsets a lot of people when I say this. Who's to say? Everything is relative to the group. I don't want to bring up the Nazis, but they didn't think that they were bad. The Empire doesn't think that they're bad. So bringing balance to the Force, perhaps him going to the dark side brought a little bit of what the Force needed at that time. Like the Empire is terrible and they do terrible things, but at that time, who's to say what the will of the Force was? And I don't think anything Anakin did was a failure at all. I think by the end of the story, it all wraps up together. And one thing that we haven't discussed is why couldn't, let's go down the line, if things are still unsettled in the galaxy, why couldn't Rey be the chosen one?
Exactly.
So, who knows?
Food for thought.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay. We have one more. While you're coming down, I think it's Anakin definitively, because as Pablo said on Twitter, just because a fictional character thinks something is true doesn't mean that it is. I mean, of course Obi-Wan is going to think that Luke is the chosen one because he saw his friend, his brother, turn to the dark side in the most awful way possible. How could that not be PTSD, right?
Well, you mentioned,
so of course he's going to.
You mentioned, Mike, folks that are ingrained in a thought process. Obi-Wan could have been integrating that thought process. He yells, "You're the chosen one." That's what he thinks. So maybe that in his world, that's he's his norm.
Yeah, no, I think it's Anakin. I definitely think it's Anakin. Yes, sir.
Isn't it interesting too, though, that for Luke to be able to even succeed in that redemption, Anakin had to go down his path.
That's right.
So Luke could be told, "You don't want to end up like your father."
Exactly.
And what would have Luke's journey been without having that example?
Good point, Scott. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and as a parent, as a teacher, when you teach someone a lesson, it doesn't mean they're going to get it the first time. They may never get it. That doesn't mean that they're a failure. It means that they have their own path that they have to walk. So it's not clean. And if it was clean and easy, think about it. When you do push-ups, it's supposed to hurt, right? Growing is supposed to hurt. If you look at something, a really difficult geometric equation, or really listen into one of Cory's insights into things, why I'm really laying it on thick, it's supposed to really impact you. It's supposed to hurt. That's good. That's growth.
One thing I really need to mention is that the whole thing about just like prophecies and chosen one in general, the fact of the matter is people can have a calling, they can have like a thing that they're supposed to do in their lives, but if they choose not to, and because people have free will, we all have free will. You can be told that you have to do this all you want, but nobody can force you to do something. They can only influence you. They can only tell you. They can only guide you a certain way. But in the end, you have the end all say all. So whether or not Anakin is the chosen one or not, even if he failed as chosen one and he turned to the dark side and became Darth Vader, that doesn't make him not the chosen one, because he does have his own free will. In the end, he did succeed in what he did. It was late, and he didn't do it perfectly, which caused the consequences of the dark side still continuing, which is why things need to come back and reset. People make plans are always set, but the plans are never set without a plan B. The plan B was Luke. And then the plan C is now Rey to go into things. Like, plans are never concrete, because if you go into something with only one plan, you're gonna fail. This famous quote that I've always heard was, fighters always have a plan until the first punch is thrown. After that happens, then you have to recalculate, you have to redo it all. So Anakin is definitely the chosen one, because he was, like I said, birthed from the Force. He was, so in a way, it's kind of like a Jesus analogy in a sense, like born from a higher power, sent to rise up, have a lot of power in everything that he did. He defeated, in the end, he was the one to defeat the highest evil, and then now life goes on.
All right.
But evil, that's a thing. Evil and good has to be there. Good cannot live without evil, and evil cannot live without good. Of course we want good to overpower evil, but if there was absolutely no evil, then I feel like that would bring even more chaos, because then who's to say that your good is better than my good, and my good is better than your good, Just because Vader failed once doesn't mean that he's not the chosen one.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
What's your name?
Yeah, what is your name? Okay, thank you for pointing that out. That was amazing. All of you really, this is one of the reasons why I love doing the show, because what you all have and what we talk about, we learn from each other. I think that's incredibly important. Anything else you want to add to this before we close out this particular segment?
I know that I'm not the chosen one.
Yes, I know. You're a very good person, but you're not. Yeah, but I'm sure your wife thinks you are.
She does.
Oh, well, there you go. All right. So now, besides being our last show, we also promised this is where we're going to reveal the new format for Coffee with Kenobi going forward. So, did you say you were going to ask me something? You're going to interview me?
I'm going to interview you.
I'm nervous.
A little bit. So, yeah, a lot of people have known about this being my last show. We kind of tossed from there what we're going to do. Because it came down to, how we're going to format the show. What's the plan? And a lot of folks are kind of asking us, what's going to happen? Who's going to be the new co-host and whatnot? I think the biggest thing, for you, is kind of dump it in your lap, pal. But I think it comes down to to keep the integrity of the show. I definitely think that's something that we both agreed on. So do you want to start describing about how
Yeah.
the format will kind of exist?
I'm looking for the notes that when I realized I needed to do something different, since you were not going to be a part of the show, I had to I spent a lot of time thinking about it because, I mean, what you bring to the table I think is so unique and special, and you just inspire something in me when we're conversing. And I think a good friend does that, and we all have that person. We have people like that. They just bring out something unique in you. So I wrote here in my notes, I wrote, the problem is, how do I replace Cory Clubb? And the answer is, I don't. You don't replace Cory, and I don't want to replace Cory. That's not possible. So Leland Cheese taken over. Just kidding. Actually, he and I were joking about that earlier. And I said, are you qualified for this? I think he is. So instead of having a new co-host, I'm going to have co-hosts. We're going to go weekly, which is something we've never done before, but I'm super psyched about that. And just doing the celebration thing. Oh, thank you. And the shows are not going to be 17 hours long anymore. They're going to be an hour, because I think, that's a lot of time. You're giving a lot of time to listen to us babble on and yodel about Star Wars, and we appreciate that. We appreciate you. So we want to try to figure out a way to streamline that. I like our format, how it is, but we've almost, for the last year and a half, we've talked about almost after every show, there's something different. There's something that we need to tweak, and I think it's this. We're going to have different segments. There's going to be 4 different segments every show. It's always going to be different. We're always going to have people be a part. As far as who is going to be on the new show as co-hosts, well, I mean, some of you are in here right now. In fact, one of the things that we're going to do before we walk out here tonight is one of you is going to be one of my first co-hosts for the first show, which is cool. So thank you for being here. That's one of the ways we can help to give back to you. Every show is going to have me and 2 co-hosts. It's going to be different every week. And then we're going to have different people. For example, our first show, one of my co-hosts is this guy, right? You have to transition like, come on.
You got to be the first one.
That's right. He said, can I be on the new show for the first time? Like, yeah, of course. Our other co-host is going to be James Arnold Taylor. Yeah. That's not bad. So, it's going to be exciting. My wife is like, you need to do more. She's like, all right. And now it's on tape, so okay. Any questions for me?
Yeah, I guess going through this style, do you feel like it's more challenging, or would it be a breeze? What's moving forward, with a new format like this? I know in the past we've always kind of been trying to bring in guests and be able to have a good rounded conversation. What does it bring as we bring on more guests and do a single show? What does that change for the new format moving forward?
Obviously, failing to plan is planning to fail, right? So you have to be on top of it. I already have the show scheduled through July because I like to be on top of things. You just have to be active. Luckily, this is such an amazing community. But people, I say, hey, would you like to come on the show? Everyone says yes, and I'm very happy about that. That's a reflection on the fact that my hope has always been, no spoilers, and help to be a voice in the community and to give people a voice. We're one of many, many shows that give people a voice. You got the host of the Best Star Wars podcast right there, Mike Pilot. He knows exactly what this is about. You have to give people a voice because there are a lot of amazing people that have a lot of important things to say, and I think this is going to help to do that even more.
Yep.
Does that answer your question?
It does. Okay. So I want to know also, format-wise, we try to make it like kind of a conversation, sit down at a coffee shop. Mm-hmm. How would you keep that integrity included? Right.
Yeah, there's always going to be an analytical part of every show because I think that's what makes us tick.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about the news and whatever, and that's wonderful. That's what you should do. Be who you are. That's the one thing we tell people. What should I do if I want to start a show? Well, you should be yourself, and you should talk. And one of the things I like to do is I like to analyze. I'm a literature teacher. That's what I like to do. So we're going to make sure that's a part of everything. Now, it's not always going to be. See you soon, buddy. It's not always going to be. I thought today's was a really insightful show, thanks to all of you who came up and contributed. But we're just gonna let it be like water, as Freddie Prinze Jr. would say.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. So before we close up, we've got about 15 minutes left. We have some giveaways, but this is also your chance to either ask us a question or to kind of say thank you to Cory for all of his time on Coffee with Kenobi. So, if you want, if you'd like to form a line over here, everybody who, by the way, who talks asks a question, says something, you're going to get a prize. We've got some of these awesome posters from Topps that they're giving away in the Star Wars Authentics. We've also got some cards or some codes where you can get an exclusive pack you can only get through one of these codes. So come on down. Who would like to ask a question?
Your cameraman, I want to ask a question.
Okay, yeah.
Come on up.
This is Dennis Keithley, by the way, everybody.
After dozens and dozens of shows, I don't think anyone's ever figured out what your favorite kind of coffee was.
So we did this, actually today, you went by Dunkin' Donuts, not this one. But I'm more of a gourmet coffee guy, go to Starbucks, but I'll do like a black coffee.
Yeah, he's
not a sip coffee, more just straight up black, give it to me straight. Right to it.
I used to be a huge mocha guy, but I definitely like coffee. A little bit of cream, a little bit of sugar. The blonde roasted Starbucks, that would be my cup, yeah. Hey, I know Amy and Dre always have their what are you drinking kind of thing. There you go, now you have it. Anyone else like to come on down? Good start, Dennis.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's got, you can have your choice of a poster or you can get an exclusive Topps digital pack. You're tempted, aren't you? You are, yeah.
Since I'm quite voiced, I will borrow the mic.
Please do.
Let me step aside so I don't blow these speakers out.
No worries.
Here's a question about the new trilogy. Do you guys think that Disney is going to totally upend the traditional viewpoint of good versus evil being one of the primary mythologies in the films? Take a look at Bendu in Rebels. He's bending the light and the dark, being neither. Do you think we see basically there is only gray by the end of episode 9?
I love that. I honestly hope not, because if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for everything, right? So why would that? Yeah, for sure. So why Disney? I mean, they're a family company first and foremost. George said Star Wars is for 12-year-olds, which I think is amazing, whether you were 12 literally or figuratively, right? So I think there has to be some sort of a standard. I'm assuming that the Bendu and Rogue One, things like that. I mean, even though when there's shades of gray, there's still got to be light, and I think Disney will always champion that, and I think that's why we love Star Wars, personally.
Yeah, I think too, Disney's obviously the house of the mouse. And
oh boy!
They will continue, I think, to challenge that good versus evil too. I mean, it's like about bringing the Bendu up. It's always kind of like that. Hey, they kind of play both sides, or they kind of do a middle portion. And it's always interesting because I always think about that person, and Ahsoka too, I think is up in there, as being the most maybe confused or maybe the most not sure where to go with it. They can't pick a side, so I think that's an even bigger struggle.
I think I would push back on that a little bit. I think she knows where she is, but they don't. I think the Jedi don't. And that's why she has to run away.
Why do you think she knows where she is?
Because she takes the hardest choice and turns away from the status quo that she's grown up with, because she knows that something isn't right and she trusts her gut more than what she's told to think. And I think that's hard. I think it's hard to think independently.
Conflicted characters are the most interesting ones.
Absolutely.
Han Solo, for example.
I was just going to say, Han's a good example. What do you think? See, I like how you say that, though.
But it's interesting too, because you talk about Han Solo and being very conflicted of doing the right thing and or not just taking money to run. And it's those people who do choose a path that understand, hey, this is a path I'm chosen to take, or and then maybe what happens down the road that they have to go back to the other side of the things and battle that. And it's a constant battle, I think, for those people that are in between. They're constantly battling those emotions or those poles.
Right. Very good. I love it. Anybody else have anything they want to bring up? Sure.
This question, touch back on what John said over here.
Yes.
Do you really believe that Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine don't believe they're evil? Do you think they're doing good? But
From a certain point of view.
I saw an interesting book called The Lost Stars with
Yes.
Anakin and Sienna, right?
Yes.
And Sienna had made formation with all the officers, and she was junior, so she was farther in the back. And when Palpatine came onto the Death Star, and as far back as she was, she felt she couldn't stand the dark side coming off Palpatine. So she knew that he was evil.
Right.
But coming all through the Imperial Academy, those kids they thought they were supporting a dream. But as she got more and more exposed to the upper ranks, she realized that what she's doing is evil.
What do you think?
That's great. You know, and the other thing too, you talk about people who are surrounding you and influencing you. And those people have ideals and they have thoughts and they say, hey, you should do this or you should do that. And those younglings or whoever you may be raising are going to be kind of trapped in those ways until they figure out their own way of deciding to make choices for themselves and taking either path. Do they believe that they're evil? I don't think so. I think that they're taking a side that would be bringing, you know, in their sense, bringing balance to the Force, or owning the Force, owning all that control.
See, I think the Emperor knows that he's evil, and I think he's fine with it because I think he's very inwardly focused, and I think that Vader doesn't care. I think Vader is so angry and just loathes himself so much, and he's got all this power, and he just feels so lost and betrayed, and then anger just becomes like, what is that saying that if you search for revenge, you dig two graves, something to that effect? I mean, that's obviously what he has. He has this death to self that doesn't come back until Luke, and I think that's why he's compelling. Yeah.
I think he hates himself more than he hates
Exactly. He hates himself more. And we all know your own worst critic is the one that you look at every day in the mirror, right? And once you can make peace with that person, well, then you've really got something special. So.
Wow. What's that?
Anybody else? Yes?
So I never really thought about the whole...
Why don't we come on down for a prize again?
Yeah, feel free to come up and get it.
Yeah, basically everybody's going to get a prize if you would like. Thanks to Matt for finding these awesome comics, by the way. Go ahead.
I never thought about the whole chosen one thing, but I was thinking about it, like, okay, so what if Anakin goes through this whole journey and he's told he's the chosen one? From the beginning, you are the chosen one. And he's like, okay, what do I do? And they're like, you're the chosen one. So he has no idea what path to take to be that chosen one. So he ends up going to the dark side. And then Luke comes in and he's just a humble boy, he has no idea what to do with anything, you know. And he comes in and he brings that light, and he is guided on a path where, like, he's told what to do and how to do it, and he's supported and not said, you're the chosen one. But in the end, when Darth Vader does, you know, come to light, I think the reason he came to light was, not think, but the reason he came to light was Luke. And so Luke might have been, I never thought of this, but Luke might have been the chosen one because he brought the balance from him being on the light side and then Vader being on the dark side, where he brought the dark side to light.
I like that. Well said. No, that's cool. That's very good. Oh, thank you. Right, Thomas, you have anything you'd like to add to this whole thing?
Yeah, there's some great topics here. So, exactly what she was saying. We've had these discussions for years when I teach mythology in class. And a lot of times, kids will side on the fact that, or the argument that Vader, while the Savior, Luke is the Redeemer. And that Vader was the Savior, that it was Vader that destroys the Emperor, that it was Vader who actually brought balance to the Force. But that wasn't possible without his son redeeming him through love. Because it was Luke's sacrifice, where Luke's like, I'll never turn. I'm a Jedi, my father before me. It was Vader seeing that level of love to a man that Luke only knew in concept is faith, right? And Luke willing to die for faith and a love for his father that then redeems his father. So we've often heard that, our students often said, cite on the argument that Vader is the chosen one. He's the Savior, but Luke is the Redeemer. He's not the chosen one without being redeemed.
Well said. Well said.
No, and my thought was on the same question of when you were asking who the chosen one was. I initially was of the it's irrelevant inclination, but in my mind, it's kind of more that's the myth for the characters within the story. And so it is, it's whoever chooses to be. And that's why I think we can see it shift around and be someone
malleable.
different.
And your name is?
I'm Daniel.
Oh, thanks for being here, Daniel.
Thanks.
Feel free to grab a prize too, Daniel, if you would. Lots of goodies.
Hey, y'all. First, let me say it's great to see you on the podcast stage again.
Thank you.
And you led the podcast stage off. You were the first podcast, and at the first time that there was a podcast stage at Celebration Anaheim 2 years ago. And wondering, this is not so much about Star Wars, but about Celebration, how did the two of you feel? Any difference to how you felt going into this show today versus how you felt, I'm assuming, right, the last show that you did? And how were your preparations any different at all?
He's laughing.
He's laughing because we were about, an hour out from doing this. Dad's like, we don't write the show. We'd always been talking about, of course, just in discussion, but we never really out officially. And I definitely think this is more relaxed than Anaheim, but I still feel stressed.
Well, one of the things, that's fair. One of the things that one of the reasons why I tried to do the weekly thing with Celebration before is because I wanted to have more milk as much as I could out of having you on the show. And one of the things I think we do well is to riff and improvise. And I think that helps to make the conversation sound more authentic, because you have to have some stuff scripted, you have to have some ideas, and you have to have a focus. Mm-hmm. I also think you have to allow the conversation to breathe and become something different. I write extremely detailed outlines for every single show, and it'll be kind of nice to. They are color coded. Actually,
my color's red.
His color's red. I didn't let him pick it. That's true. Yeah. And so I think I like that, because the first one was we were on like a half hour after the premiere of the Force Awakens trailer, and it was such an adrenaline rush, and I kept looking thinking, we've got to set this up. At that point I didn't really know how to work one of these things, and while we're running down from the 4th floor to the 3rd floor, I think that was right. Cory's like, hey, what'd you think about that? What'd you think about it? I don't know, let's go down to the show. And so, because that's how we can just do it live. We say this a lot on the show, but one of the things that we like to do is, if something big happens, like, we purposely don't talk about it at all. We don't even text about it, because we want to save it and keep it fresh as an authentic conversation, because we want you to feel like you're a part of a conversation, and we want to be able to hear what you have to say. That's why we want your MP3s and your emails and your tweets and your Facebooks and everything, because that's a part of it. I also think, too, going first is just so much different, because there's no precedence. Now, I think that's exciting. I always tell my students, if you have a chance, if you have to give a speech, which we know that people would rather, that people are more afraid of public speaking than they are death. So there's that Seinfeld joke where if you're at a funeral, most people would rather be, in the coffin than giving the eulogy. So I think there is some of that, but I think it's exciting. I like this aspect of it, because it's a chance to talk to my friend. It's a chance to share and be inspired by all of you. So thank you again very much. Thank you very much, by the way, for listening to our show, for interacting with us on social media, and for helping to make this community, this Star Wars community, what it is. Thank you all very much for being here on the podcast stage. Thank you so much. Before we've got like 2 minutes. Is there anything you want to say? Is it your last chance? Because you'll have to go through a rigorous interview for now.
Thanks, everybody. I appreciate everything, and it's through seeing people face to face. It's cool. We walk around outside the convention and see people online and stuff. It's like, oh hey, I know you, or I met you before, or you should listen to us, or people stopping us online and stuff. It's cool to see that. So I appreciate that, because it breaks me out of my shell a little bit. It makes me enjoy the process and enjoy the event even more. So,
well, good. Well, hey, thanks for making me a better man, and we love you, bud. We're going to miss you. Cory Club. Thanks, everybody, for being here. This episode of Coffee with Kenobi was sponsored by Penguin Random House Audio. Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio. Featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From brand new audiobooks such as Thrawn and Empire's End Aftermath to our blockbuster movie tie-in editions, you'll have plenty to keep you entertained. Visit penguinrandomhouseaudio.com/Star Wars for sample clips and to start listening now.
This episode of Coffee Kenobi is also sponsored by Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps. Celebrating its second year in the app, it is totally free to download from iTunes or Google Play. Collect and trade everything from legendary 1977 Star Wars cards to new cards featuring exclusive content for Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, Rogue One, and much more. All from the comfort of your mobile device, the Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps. These are the cards you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.